intrusion into market efficiencies in the form of regulation.
This presentation elucidates the entrenched legal challenges faced by MMTLP. Metamaterials incorporated preferred shares. Shareholders in pursuing claims against the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. At its core lies a dual-layered immunity doctrine that insulates these regulators from civil liability, compounded by a procedural catch, 22. Courts demand prima facie evidence of misconduct, e.g., ultra vires actions, fraud, or constitutional violations, to justify piercing immunity and granting discovery. Yet such evidence is unobtainable without court-ordered access to regulators' internal records. This creates an infinite loop of dismissal on immunity grounds, often characterized as impermissible fishing expeditions under Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, FRCP 26(b)(1). Exacerbating this is the impending data retention deadline of December 8, 2025, 3 years post the U3 halt on December 8, 2022, after which routine purging of records, e.g., blue sheets, trade data, under SEC Rule 17a, 4 and FINRA guidelines may render any subsequent discovery futile. Consequently, absent extraordinary intervention, no viable judicial remedy exists, as courts routinely reject extrinsic community-gathered evidence, e.g., FOIA disclosures, whistleblower tips, as insufficient to overcome the absolute or qualified immunity thresholds established in precedents like Standard Investment Chartered Incorporated v. NASD, 2D-CR, 2010, and Butts versus Economu, 1978. His central thesis: the interplay of sovereign and absolute immunity for the SEC and FINRA, respectively, creates an insurmountable evidentiary hurdle for MMTLP plaintiffs, perpetuating a cycle of judicial denial and data inaccessibility. Key content: FINRA, as a self-regulatory organization, SRO, under the Securities Exchange Act of 1934 Section 15a, enjoys absolute immunity for regulatory functions, like MMTLP U3 halts under Rule 6440, as affirmed in Sparta Surgical Corporation v. NASD, 9th Circle, 1998. The SEC benefits from sovereign immunity absent explicit waiver, limiting suits to Administrative Procedure Act, APA, reviews, or Bivens actions for constitutional deprivations. This double immunity shields actions taken in official capacity from tort or contract claims. MMTLP shareholders, even though they've been here for 21 court cases, all suffering the same immunity fate, seems to have zero learning on what has been tried and failed. Look, MMTLP. To pierce immunity, plaintiffs must proffer court-admissible evidence. Examples like under FRCP 56 standards, demonstrating bad faith or ultra vires conduct. MMTLP doesn't have this. MMTLP has never met this burden in 3 years, but now many community members either forgot or magically believe this will change somehow at the last minute to save us. However, regulators like SEC, FINRA, DTCC invoke immunity to quash subpoenas, deeming discovery requests fishing expeditions. Ashcroft versus Iqbal, 2009. This loop results in summary dismissals, as courts decline to pierce the veil without threshold proof, trapping MMTLP claims in procedural limbo. MMTLP isn't able to learn from past failures. They are trapped hoping, praying, and begging, which never works. The MMTLP community is going to be totally blindsided with December 8th, 2025, because they refuse to look at facts. It's coming, the impending MMTLP data destruction. MMTLP knows the FINRA and SEC did this fraud, but magically doesn't believe they will delete data. Even if wrong, they'll say it's a glitch and get away with it. The court will accept that glitch. Congress and Senate will too, because every branch of government needs MMTLP to be buried as fast as it can. Key content post the December 8th, 2025 deadline, marking 3 years from the MMTLP halt. Regulators and brokers may lawfully delete records under SEC Rule 17a, 4b, 4, e.g., transaction logs, communications. Even if immunity is pierced thereafter, the absence of discoverable material, residential ipsa loquitur, precludes substantive relief, rendering litigation moot. Professional legal relay slide delves into the doctrinal underpinnings of the immunities shielding FINRA and the SEC, elucidating their near impenetrability in the MMTLP context, and extends to the de facto immunity afforded to brokers via mandatory arbitration clauses. FINRA's absolute immunity, derived from its status as a self-regulatory organization, SRO, under the Securities Exchange Act of 1934 Section 15A, immunizes it from private suits for actions performed in its regulatory capacity, such as imposing trading halts, e.g., the U3 halt under FINRA Rule 6440. This immunity is absolute, as articulated in precedents like Standard Investment Chartered Incorporated v. NASD 637 F.3d 112, 2D.CR 2011, where courts held that SROs are quasi-governmental entities entitled to protection akin to prosecutorial immunity, barring liability absent evidence of fraud, malice, or actions ultra vires, thresholds rarely met without discovery, which immunity precludes. The SEC enjoys sovereign immunity under the doctrine that the United States and its agencies cannot be sued without consent. United States versus Mitchell for 163 U.S. 206, 1983, with limited waivers under statutes like the Administrative Procedure Act, 5 U.S.C. Section 702, for arbitrary agency actions, or the Federal Tort Claims Act, 28 U.S.C. Section 2674, for non-discretionary torts. However, in securities enforcement contexts, courts deem SEC decisions, e.g., oversight of the MMTLP corporate action, discretionary and thus immune, requiring plaintiffs to demonstrate constitutional violations, e.g., due process under Bivens v. 6 unknown named agents, 403 U.S. 388, 1971, to proceed, a bar impenetrable without internal evidence shielded by the immunity itself. These immunities are impenetrable due to the evidentiary paradox. Piercing requires prima facie proof under FRCP 12b 6 or 56 standards, e.g., Ashcroft v. Iqbal, 556 U.S. 662, 2009, mandating plausible allegations beyond speculation. Yet such proof necessitates discovery quashed as fishing expeditions under FRCP 26b1, perpetuating dismissals. Regarding brokers, while not immune per se, customer agreements mandate binding arbitration under FINRA's Code of Arbitration Procedure, e.g., Rule 12200, enforceable via the Federal Arbitration Act, 9 U.S.C. Section 1 et seq., which courts rigorously uphold as a matter of federal policy favoring arbitration. AT&T Mobility, LLC v. Concepcion, 563 U.S. 333, 2011. No court will permit litigation against brokers in federal or state venues if a valid arbitration clause exists, compelling arbitration and precluding judicial review except on narrow grounds like fraud in the clause itself. FAA Section 10. In MMTLP disputes, this funnels claims into FINRA's forum, where evidentiary limitations and pro-industry biases, as alleged in investor critiques, further insulate brokers from accountability.